Screamed to me the other night, "Hey, Will, I want to be an actor, man. I want to be an actor just like you." You know, usually people say stuff to me like that. I'm like, "Yeah, man, you know, you do is give them an encouraging word." But I was just sitting here thinking, and it dawned on me, 99% of people that say stuff like that are not willing to do what it takes to make their dreams come true. The Marines have a saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And that's just real. At the center of bringing any dream into fruition is self-discipline. You know, something as simple as food and eating is not about your body as much as it is about your mind. It's getting command of your mind to be able to choose actions that are in your own best interest. Every day we are choosing shit that's not in our own best interest. Right? So if the world is attacking you and the world wants to fight you and the world's trying to hold you down, so you're going to kick yourself in the balls? So you're going to stop yourself from getting what you dream. Self-discipline is the center of all material success. You cannot win the war against the world if you can't win the war against your own mind. Hugely important to me to maintain a certain energy. It's like it's healing, it's loving, it's kind, and I learned really young that my energy was infectious. Right? So when I come into the studio, long after I leave, the energy that I bring is still going to be here, and then people are going to take it home and they're going to infect their families with it. So for me, it's hugely important to maintain just positive, loving energy.
You're always grateful.
Yeah, I'm really happy. It's funny. I worked with Gene Hackman, and we had a thing every morning because Gene Hackman wasn't a morning person, and this is what I do in the morning. So every morning I would say, "Hey, good morning, Mr. Hackman." He's like, "Yeah." And I would say, he'd say, "How you doing, Will?" I say, "Hey, man, I'm just happy to be here." He would say, "No, you're lucky to be here." Right? So we would do that every morning, but it became my way of just getting it up and getting it going. It's just I love it. Fail early, fail often, fail forward. It's always a little bit frustrating to me when people have a negative relationship with failure. Failure is a massive part of being able to be successful. You have to get comfortable with failure. You have to actually seek failure. Failure is where all of the lessons are. When you go to the gym and you work out, you're actually seeking failure. You want to take your muscles to the point where you get to failure, because that's where the adaptation is. That's where growth is. Successful people fail a lot. They fail a whole lot more than they succeed, but they extract the lessons from the failure, and they use that the energy, and they use the wisdom to come around to the next phase of success. You gotta take a shot. You have to live at the edge of your capabilities. You gotta live where you're almost certain you're gonna fail. That's the reason for practice. Practice is controlled failure. You're getting to your limit, getting to your limit, getting to your limit. You can't lift that, you can't do that, until you get to the point that all of a sudden your body makes the adjustment, and then you can do it. Failure actually helps you to recognize the areas where you need to evolve. So fail early, fail often, fail forward. Set your life on fire and seek those who fan your flames. The Philly translation of that is, don't be hanging with no jank-ass jokers that don't help you shine. The prerequisite for spending time with any person is that they nourish and inspire you. They feed your flame. Look at your last 5 text messages. Are those people feeding your flames or dousing your fire? Put your phone down for just a second and look around. Look to the people around you. Are those people throwing logs on your fire, or are they pissing on it? The people that you spend time with are going to make or break your dreams. Everybody don't deserve to be around you. You got to defend your light with your life. So who are the people in your life that are fanning your flames? concept of improving lives runs through the center of everything I do. And then I realized that the way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself, right? So with that, every morning when I get out of the bed, you know, I haven't fixed everything in the world yet, so there's always something to do. And in this film, I read an interesting quote. The Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, he said that good people have to get out of the bed every day and try to empty the ocean with a ladle, right? And I thought that was, you know, I knew that was profound, and I paused for a second and I said, all right, what the hell is a ladle, right? Right, so then, you know, I touched it on my iPad, it's ladle. Oh, it's like a big spoon, okay.
As we
it's
say,
like a soup spoon, yeah, it's like a soup spoon. I was like, why do you use a soup spoon? So try to empty the ocean with a soup spoon, you know, as the mentality of how you wake up every day to try to do good in the world. So for me, I'm really driven by continually trying to elevate my mind and elevate my spirit and care for my body, and to be able to love as many people as effectively as possible with this mystery of life that I've been given. I want to do good.
Yeah.
I want the world to be better because I was here. I have a great time with my life, and I want to share it. I love living. I think that's infectious. It's something that you can't fake. Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it. I want to represent the idea that you really can make what you want. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho, and I just believe that. I believe that I can create whatever I want to create. It's that simple.
I know who I am, and I know what I believe.
I know who I am, I know what I believe.
That's all I need to know.
And that's all I need to know. So from there, you do what you need to do. Yeah. You know, and I think what happens is we make this situation more complex than it has to be.
Because we're looking for complexity. There's got to be something complex to understand.
It can't be that easy.
No.
We didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. You know, we grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter because
we were becoming
right. Something greater. So I'm in the Cayman Islands. Just got finished doing a couple days of work, and you know, I'm in the room. I'm finally by myself. It's quiet. There's no people around. I'm chilling, and I'm like, you know, trying to figure out something to do. So, you know, I figured, let me go turn the news on. And then it dawned on me. I was like, but the news agitates me. It's disruptive. I get aggravated. And I was like, nah. And then I felt this crazy urge, like I couldn't stop myself from going to turn the news on. And I was like, oh shit. And I realized my mind was seeking disturbance. Like, nah, it's too peaceful. I need to be disrupted and aggravated. And I realized, like, we actually have to cultivate a taste for peace. We're actually addicted to things that agitate and aggravate us, you know? You're like, damn, every time I see this person, we argue. I don't want to argue with this fool. Well, stop. what happens is we actually get addicted to the argument. We're addicted to the aggravation, addicted to the agitation. I just really made a decision to myself today, just sitting here in the Cayman Islands, that I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to be still, and I'm going to be alone. I mean, right after you listen to my IG story and right after you follow me, then put it down and just be alone and quiet and still.
The first step before anybody else in the world believes it is you have to believe it. There's no reason to have a plan B because it distracts from plan A.
It was 94 or something like that. They were opening Planet Hollywood. I found myself in a room with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, and Sly. And I was like, oh my God, I got these 3 guys in the room. And I was like, okay, I want to be the biggest movie star in the world. And I need you guys to tell me how to do it. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, he said, if your movie is only big in America, it doesn't matter. You'll be a movie star only when you're a movie star in every country in the world. You have to travel, you have to go, you have to meet the people.
Confucius said, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. Being realistic is the most commonly traveled road to mediocrity. Why would you be realistic? What's the point of being realistic?
Just put up a barrack.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. It's done. It's already done. The second I decide it's done, it's already done. So now we just got to wait for y'all to see.
I just launched a YouTube channel, and I didn't realize how great social media was for the short form content. So I have all of these ideas, I have all of these songs, I have all of these skits, I have all of these things that I didn't think I'd ever get around to putting out that I'll be doing on my social media. So I'll definitely be putting out records, I'll definitely be doing skits, and I'll definitely be creating content that has been bubbling in me for years. I believe that self-discipline is the definition of self-love. That when you say that you love yourself, that means that you have behavior towards yourself that is loving. It's like you say to yourself, hey man, look, I know you want to eat that pizza and it'll be really good, you know, but I can't let you eat that, man. I love you too much to let you eat that. And I think the word discipline has kind of gotten a bad name. We think about it in terms of punishment. I'm not talking about discipline in that way. I'm talking about discipline in the sense that you forego immediate pleasure for the exchange of long-term self-respect.
It's unrealistic to walk in a room and flip a switch and lights come on. That's unrealistic. Fortunately, Edison didn't think so. It's unrealistic to think you're going to bend a piece of metal and fly people over an ocean in that metal. That's unrealistic. But fortunately, the Wright brothers and others didn't believe that. And it just seems like such a ridiculous idea to me to embrace the idea that it's not going to happen, that's not real, for that to happen. As soon as you say it, now you just made that real.
Dude screamed to me the other night, hey Will, I want to be an actor, man. I want to be an actor just like you. You know, usually people say stuff to me like that. I'm like, yeah, man, you know, you do is give them an encouraging word. But I was just sitting here thinking, and it dawned on me, 99% of people that say stuff like that are not willing to do what it takes to make their dreams come true. The Marines have a saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And that's just real. At the center of bringing any dream into fruition is self-discipline. Something as simple as food and eating is not about your body as much as it is about your mind. It's getting command of your mind to be able to choose actions that are in your own best interest. Every day we are choosing shit that's not in our own best interest. Right? So if the world is attacking you and the world wants to fight you and the world's trying to hold you down, so you're going to kick yourself in the balls? So you're going to stop yourself from getting what you dream. Self-discipline is the center of all material success. You cannot win the war against the world if you can't win the war against your own mind.
Our thoughts, our feelings, our dreams, our ideas are physical in the universe. That if we dream something, if we picture something, if we commit ourselves to it, that is a physical thrust towards realization that we can put into the universe. That the universe is not a thing that's going to push us around. That the world and people and situations are not something that are going to push us around. That we are going to bend the universe and command and demand that the universe become what we want it to be.
Only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill. You might have more talent than me, you might be smarter than me, but if we get on the treadmill together, right, there's two things. You're getting off first, or I'm going to die. There's a certain delusional quality that all successful people have to have. You have to believe that something different than what has happened for the last 50 million years of history. You have to believe that something different can happen.
Fail early, fail often, fail forward. It's always a little bit frustrating to me when people have a negative relationship with failure. Failure is a massive part of being able to be successful. You have to get comfortable with failure. You have to actually seek failure. Failure is where all of the lessons are. When you go to the gym and you work out, you're actually seeking failure. You want to take your muscles to the point where you get to failure, because that's where the adaptation is. That's where growth is. Successful people fail a lot. They fail a whole lot more than they succeed, but they extract the lessons from the failure and they use that the energy and they use the wisdom to come around to the next phase of success. You gotta take a shot. You have to live at the edge of your capabilities. You gotta live where you're almost certain you're gonna fail. That's the reason for practice. Practice is controlled failure. You're getting to your limit, getting to your limit, getting to your limit. You can't lift that, you can't do that, until you get to the point that all of a sudden your body makes the adjustment and then you can do it. Failure actually helps you to recognize the areas where you need to evolve. So fail early, fail often, fail forward. I was just having a debate with a friend of mine, and we got stuck on the difference between fault and responsibility. She kept talking about how something was somebody's fault. It's somebody's fault. And I was like, it don't matter whose fault it is that something is broken if it's your responsibility to fix it. It's not somebody's fault if their father was an abusive alcoholic, but it's for damn sure their responsibility to figure out how they're going to deal with those traumas and try to make a life out of it. It's not your fault if your partner cheated and ruined your marriage, but it is for damn sure your responsibility to figure out how to take that pain and how to overcome that and build a happy life for yourself. Fault and responsibility do not go together. It sucks, but they don't. When something is somebody's fault, we want them to suffer. We want them punished. We want them to pay. We want it to be their responsibility to fix it, but that's not how it works, especially when it's your heart. Your heart, your life, Your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. As long as we're pointing the finger and stuck in whose fault something is, we're jammed and trapped into victim mode. When you're in victim mode, you are stuck in suffering. The road to power is in taking responsibility. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. For me, a personal confrontation with death made me see the value of time and the fact that the only elixir is love. The time that you spend has got to be in preparing yourself and giving and receiving the most amount of love you can. You know, my mission is to improve lives. So I want to do things that put positivity and positive energy and love into the world.
You know, I've always been really product oriented. You know, it's like, I want to win. When I do something, I want to win. I want it to be number one, and I want to smash it. I have a daughter now. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and she got me and shifted my focus from product to people. It took a couple of years, but as soon as I got knocked off of product and started shifting to people, the whole world opened up for me again, and acting opened up in a whole new way, to not go into day one of a movie trying to figure out what everybody has to do so we win, versus opening up and every person's a new, it's a whole new world. Generally, when I went into a product, when I went into a meeting with a director, my focus was, can this guy win? Can this girl win? A pathology that got broken for me a couple of years ago, and then releasing that and just wanting to connect with people and wanting to grow and wanting to get new ideas and have new experiences that don't have to have an outcome. It just opened up a whole new world for me, and I fell in love, and then I couldn't imagine what else I could do in acting that could add so much to my life other than acting.
Difference between depression and joy, right? And I think it's purpose. When you wake up in the morning and your life means something to somebody other than you, that you have a purpose. If you don't go do the things that you're going to do, people's lives will suffer. To live in service, not to you, but to live in service to humanity, to live in service to your family, to live in service to your church, to your city, to your country, to the world. Living in service is that, I feel like that is the purest form of joy.
Taking responsibility, accepting responsibility is not an admission of guilt. You're not admitting that you're at fault. Taking responsibility is a recognition of the power that you seize when you stop blaming people. It's not like you're letting somebody who wronged you off the hook. Like, taking responsibility is an act of emotional self-defense. Taking responsibility is taking your power back. I look at the world through a lens of comedy. My natural reaction is always, no matter when something happens, and I can't even help it, it's, why is that funny? You know, so even at a funeral, I can't help but think why that's funny. Extremely helpful for me, just psychologically, that no matter what's going on, I can't keep my mind from finding jokes. A beautiful way to stay joyous and positive.
I live in complete terror. Everything for me about this business and about what I've been trying to build and what I've been trying to do with my life keeps me in terror. I am deeply motivated by fear. I'm trying to develop a more realistic perspective of what this business is. When I was 15 years old, my first girlfriend cheated on me.
Oh.
And I remember making a decision that nobody would ever cheat on me again. And the way I was going to do that is by being the biggest actor on earth.
Huh.
Right? So
there's been this weird psychology that I've always felt like if my movies are number one, my life is going to work out great. I've always been the type of person who I thought of myself as resilient, you know, that I could always make my way back. Being stuck in the past it makes it extremely difficult to find your way out. And future thinking for me has always been the way to get over difficult times, to be able to look over the darkness to a potential time of light. Very rarely do I look backwards. I'm always looking forward. You know, to me, showbiz is not separated from the rules of the universe. Whether you're in show business or, you know, you're selling cars or you're farming, you know, you're not separate from the laws of the universe, and all of the rules are the same everywhere. For my children, the most important thing is that they be encouraged to fully and thoroughly be themselves, no matter what. When you have yourself and you're thorough and confident in who you are, you can survive anywhere. There's a certain delusional quality that all successful people have to have. You have to believe that something different than what has happened for the last 50 million years of history. You have to believe that something different can happen.
Yeah, it's almost a kind of innocence.
Absolutely.
In other words, if you knew how difficult it was,
right,
you would have never gone down that path.
Absolutely.
You know, if somebody had said to Ali, no one can beat this guy. He's this much stronger, this much bigger. He's got that much bigger punch than you do. And he believed that, he would have said,
never
you got to have an
take
innocence that somehow.
Absolutely.
You know,
I think that's a huge part of me. Because, and I say to my friends all the time, and we laugh about it, I truly, honestly, as I sit here before you right now, as honestly as I can say it to you, I truly believe that I could be the president if I wanted to. And as bizarre as that may sound to people that have traveled the path before me and to people who actually know how difficult it is, foolish Will Smith honestly believes it's sitting here. I feel very strongly that we are who we choose to be. I consider myself an alchemist. An alchemist is basically a mystical chemist. And one of the great feats that alchemists used to do is they would take lead, just take a chunk of lead, and they could turn lead into gold. Being able to turn lead into gold. You know, my grandmother used to say, you know, life give you a lemon, you go ahead and make lemonade.
Absolutely.
To me, that's alchemy. That's the same concept behind the alchemist. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that's ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. There will not be one brick on the face of the earth that's going to be laid better than this brick that I'm going to lay in this next 10 minutes. And you do that every single day.
And soon you have a wall.
And soon you have a wall. It's difficult to take the first step when you look how big the task is. The task is never huge to me. It's always one brick. I don't want to be an icon.
I realize that to have the level of success that I want to have, it's difficult to spread it out and do multiple things. You know, it's in order to be world class, and I've made a decision. I want to be world class, and it takes such a desperate, obsessive focus to excel on the level that I want to make movies. You know, I was Star Wars when I was young. I sat in a movie theater and watched Star Wars, and I just couldn't believe that movie made me feel like that, just floored and just stunned by the creativity. And I'm realizing that in order to move people in that way, in order to touch people in that way, you really got to focus with all of your fiber and all of your heart and all of your creativity.
We didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. You know, we grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter.
because
we were becoming Right.
something greater.
As a child, my parents always told me you could be whatever you want to be. You could do whatever you want to do. It was something I heard my parents saying it, but I didn't totally believe it. Yet I went out in the world and I carried myself and I held my head high and I stood there and I looked people in their eyes and I talked to people as if I was deserving of everything that this planet has to offer. Confucius said one time, "He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right." So I want to stand here before you, and as I hold this award, I want to give love to my wife, and I want you to keep in your heart, just know that you can. Know that you.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be. I definitely found that wanting to be an actor stems from wanting to be somebody.
Separation of talent and skill is one of the greatest misunderstood concepts for people who are trying to excel, who have dreams that want to do things. Talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft.
For me, it has been to be that guy that does what people say can't be done. You know, and I think it started with trying to please my mother and trying to please my grandmother, and they always wanted higher for me. They always wanted more for me, and it got to the point that I wanted to be something. I wanted to be somebody, and it made me choose certain roles. It made me turn down certain roles. There is more than an image that I want to project. I want to be the person that is the first person there and the last person to leave. I never really viewed myself as particularly talented. Where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. You know, while the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working.
Anytime you inject extremes into the universe, you can expect extremes to come back. I think that one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was don't let your successes go to your head and don't let your failures go to your heart.
Do you follow that?
I try. No, it's absolutely a difficult, even more so now with my wife and my children expanding into it, the scope of it is actually becoming more difficult to manage. The things that, almost in a spiritual sense, the things that you attract to yourself. And also, if you think about it in terms of altitude, the higher you go, the harder it is to breathe. There's less oxygen. And I think in that phrase, what I get from that with Marlon Brando, what happens is, if you think about it in terms of mountain climbing, the higher and the higher you get, the less oxygen there is, the harder it is to breathe as you get to this successful space. And the first thing people want to do is get down. And what you do by getting down is self-destructive. And I'm just working hard to make sure that I don't allow the lack of oxygen to dull my appreciation for the gifts I've been given.